Doesn't matter what you throw at Bitcoin. It's staying at 38,700. It isn't moving. It isn't moving. And today I'm going to show you why Bitcoin is doing so well. So despite what the price tells you, I'm going to show you that why Bitcoin's price is deceiving. And actually, Bitcoin is doing better than it's ever done before. And I mean that really. It is doing better than it's ever done before. I'm also going to show you how alts may be recovering. We're not actually seeing it in all the altcoins, but there are a subsection of alts that are recovering. And today we're going to look at the alts that are recovering. Fred, why are you moving my studio, bro? Yeah, and also today, you know what we have? We have some giveaways, and then we have Hustle, the love muscle, coming on the show to tell us to tell us what's happening on his show. I see Hustle, the love muscle, in the waiting room. So it's going to be a massive show. It's a massive show today. Even though the markets are boring, there's a lot going on. We're going to discuss so much today. Let's do it. On the day where I want to play the song, you stop me from playing the song.
I thought you wanted to.
I don't care what you think of the intro. I don't care. Those of you that think that the intro is too long, I don't care, because that song gets me energized. That song gets me energized. So welcome back, Banter fam. I'm Crypto Man Run, and we are still at 38,819. Bitcoin just smashed through 38,817, going straight for 38,820. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to our channel. This is the one channel that has me, Sheldon, Miles. We have Hustle, the love muscle.
What's going on, Rand? How are you this morning?
What's in the gaming show today? Oh, love muscle. What's in the gaming show today, bro?
So we have a big bridge coming up from DeFi Kingdoms over to the Avalanche chain. I'm going to tell everyone my strategies leading up to it, because I believe the Avalanche yields on the new yield farms eventually whenever the liquidity pools open up on the new Crystal Vale DeFi Kingdoms platform on Avalanche. I think if you get in early over there, the yields could be fruitful. Miles might even join me, give his input. Even if he doesn't, we're going to dive into it. So we'll go over that and more today.
Hold on. Are you claiming DeFi Kingdoms as a game? Is it a game? Because it's not a game. It's a very serious.
Well,
DeFi.
it's gamified DeFi with a player versus player mode coming up. They do have heroes and characters you can buy, and people are leveling them up currently to prepare for the player versus player mode.
Listen, you talk about player versus player. I thought it's always been like that in crypto. Definitely in the bear market, it's always been like that in crypto. Yeah.
No, it's always player versus player.
Today, we also have another guest with us. We have Harry joining us later. We also have top man Fred. So top picker Fred is with us. Hi, Fred. Welcome back, bro.
Hello, guys. Oh, you brought me on, yeah.
Top
picker Fred. How does that work?
Tell us about your big axes, bro.
Okay, I see what's going on here. So I'm basically being accused of being the exact top signal for Peg Axie, and he's right.
Not only Peg Axie, bro. It's Peg Axie. It's the fishing rods, the penguins. Top signal Fred, bro.
Well, I just bought some Astro too. What does that mean?
Did you buy Astroport?
Yeah, I just bought a big bag. I'm mugging in the Mississippi.
All right, so I know that I made a call the other day, and I said that Luna would go to $100 by March, and Astro would go to $3. But since Fred's just bought in, please sell all your Astroport. Quickly sell. Fred, I told you to buy Astroport at 60 cents.
They will put Bitcoin release it. He's right.
Bitcoin release it what? I said 60 cents. Why?
This is good pick on Fred.
I love you, Fred. Welcome back. Freddie had COVID. Welcome back, bro. Alrighty, let's not waste any more time. Top is in. Yeah, the top is in. Let's not waste any more time. All right, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Let everybody know that we are bringing you crypto content in the bull market and in the bear market. And as I said to you guys before, if you're here now, well, you guys are the ones that are going to make it. The ones that come later, the ones that come here, the ones that come over here, not going to make it. They're not going to make it. The ones that come at the end of the cycle and try and bring their alpha from here and try and make their billions of dollars, they ain't going to make it. But if you are here and you are accumulating somewhere over here, you're going to make it. So like this content, subscribe to the channel, and good to see everybody here. Good to see everybody here. Today, we've got a lot to cover on the show. We're going to be talking to Harry. Harry's coming on to talk to us about Fantom. We're long overdue a Fantom update. We are long overdue a Fantom update. I did have lunch with Cronje on Friday. There's a lot that came out at lunch. I'm not sure how much of it I can disclose on the show, but we'll talk to Harry about that today. We'll talk about the future of Fantom. We'll also talk about how important Andre was at Fantom. We're going to talk about Luna. We're going to talk about Astroport. We're going to talk about XRP. We haven't spoken about XRP, but we're going to talk about XRP today. What else? We're going to talk about Avalanche. We're going to talk about Avalanche today. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. So it's quite a long show. Let's try and get everything into the show. Let's start off with Bitcoin, and let's look at the charts. And the charts tell a story. Well, don't really tell a story. You got Bitcoin at 38,820. Doesn't move. It hasn't moved for weeks. It hasn't moved for a whole year. Every time we get a pump, it seems that the impetus behind the pump gets much smaller. So you can kind of see that, we keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. And every time we do that, the pump gets smaller and smaller. And that's one way of looking at it. But another way of looking at it is that if you look at what we have put Bitcoin through in the last couple of months, I think that it's amazing that Bitcoin is still trading at 38,800. Because what everyone's looking at is that Bitcoin has come down from the top, from 69,420, and how Bitcoin is maintaining 38,820, and how boring it is getting at 38,820. But there's another side of that coin. Another side of the coin is, let's take a look at what we've thrown at Bitcoin in the last couple of months. So the first thing that we have thrown at Bitcoin, I saw this tweet, and the tweet says, we've got the CPI print, we've got commodities ripping, we've got the FOMC, we've got stagflation talks, we've got the NASDAQ in a bear market, we've got regulations, we've got alts going down 80 to 90%. We've got World War III pretty much, and Bitcoin is acting like a stable coin. So to me, that may actually be a little bit more of a victory than it is of a defeat. So people are talking about how Bitcoin's come down. I'm more surprised at how well Bitcoin is doing. And when I say how well Bitcoin is doing, I don't only mean how well it's doing in holding price, but I'm going to show you some metrics today that actually show that under the hood, Bitcoin is actually now stronger than it's ever been. So even though the price is at 38,800 and the price isn't moving, under the hood, Bitcoin is stronger than it's ever been. And not only that, there are certain alts that are displaying relative strength against Bitcoin. So if you take Bitcoin strength, which I'm going to show you in a second, and then you overlay certain alts like Luna, alts like Thorchain, alts like Avalanche, alts like Astroport, and you see that they're actually performing well against Bitcoin, then you may be seeing a slightly different picture. So let's look at all the things that Bitcoin has actually had to contend with in the last couple of weeks or months. Yesterday, there was that big attack on Bitcoin by the EU, and they were going to vote to ban effectively proof of work mining. But it's not only banning proof of work mining, it's effectively, if successful, it would have banned any token, any trading, registration, holding of the token by EU residents that were mined using that consensus algorithm. And Bitcoin survived that attack. So that's another attack. And remember, with every attack that Bitcoin survives, Bitcoin actually gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's the first attack that Bitcoin survived yesterday. Then we've got the S&P. Now, the S&P, the stock markets are having a massive correction. And if we look at the S&P, you see the S&P has now had the death cross. So that is when the 200-day moving average crosses the 50-day moving average, and it's a big indicator of sentiment. And if you look at the sentiment, you now have what they call the death cross. So that it's now happened. We've got the S&P death cross. The S&P is now in correction territory, bear market territory. Then Bitcoin has been correlated not to the S&P, but Bitcoin has been correlated to the NASDAQ. And if you look at the NASDAQ had the death cross a while back. It had the death cross in February. And the NASDAQ is in massive, massive correction territory. The NASDAQ is in massive correction territory. No one's talking about it because it's come down so slowly. But the NASDAQ, and remember, Bitcoin has been correlated to the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ is now in serious, serious, serious correction territory. So this is a chart that shows the drawdowns of the NASDAQ. And you can see that this drawdown of 20% plus, the only other time that that's happened for a long time is when COVID hit. And that was, the quick correction, but that was followed up by a massive recovery. But you're talking about the big stocks dropping 21% from their November 19th high. Now, remember, the Bitcoin high came very, very close to that November 19th. So the Bitcoin high came on November 10th. So it seems like Bitcoin is kind of ahead of the S&P, of the NASDAQ. And what you're seeing is that even though the NASDAQ is down 21%, the individual companies that make up the NASDAQ have been obliterated. 724 companies made new lows yesterday, okay? I'll show you some of the tokens, or some of the shares that are down. But those shares are down 60, 70, 80%. They're acting pretty much like altcoins. So there's a massive correction that's taking place. In fact, it's not actually a correction. It's pretty much a crash. When a stock market or a sector in the stock market goes down by 20%, then it's a crash. But the problem is that we've run so fast for so long. If you look at since the March crash, let's go back to the March crash over here. When we hit the March crash, or let's talk about before the March crash. Before the March crash, the NASDAQ was pretty much trading at a high of about 10,000, 9,700. Then it crashed to about 6,600. And now it's gone up 100% and maybe even 150%, depending on which way you look at it. It went up when it got to the high about 150%, and now it's probably down to 100%. But I think that this tweet is actually quite funny, because the tweet says that you've got a 20% correction in the NASDAQ, and no one's even calling it a crash. That's how big this bubble is. That's how big this money printing bubble is, that we've just had a 20% crash on the NASDAQ from the all-time high, and no one's even talking about this crash. Now, another thing that Bitcoin has to contend with is China. And China is getting killed. So you now have this COVID outbreak. The COVID outbreak is not as bad as it looks. It's not as bad as it looks at all, because you've got very limited cases. I mean, you've got, I think, 3,500 odd cases or something like that. But the problem with China is that China, they don't take any half measures. They see 3,500 cases and they just decide to close ports, and they just decide to put cities into lockdown. And that's exactly what's happening in China. That's the one thing that we're getting in China. You have a volatility index, the VIX. The VIX is a measure that talks about volatility on stock markets. Okay, so when the VIX is low, the volatility is low. When the VIX is high, the volatility is high, or the fear is high. And you've got the VIX closing above 30 for the 11th consecutive day. So that's if you look at the VIX and you take the last 11 days, on all of the last 11 days, the VIX closed above 30. What does that mean? Well, let's look at the other 11 times the other times that it's happened. 1997, 98, which was a big crash. 2000, that's the tech crash. 2001, tech crash. July 2002, crash. March 03, September 08, August 2011, and March 2020. That's the only times that we've seen the volatility index close above 30 for 11 consecutive days. That's the only time that it's ever happened. So we are in the midst of a pretty big correction or a crash, and Bitcoin is doing quite well. If you look at how Bitcoin is doing relative to this crash, we're doing just fine. I mean, relative to what's going on around us. Okay, another thing that people aren't talking about, as I said, China. and China is getting absolutely destroyed. So not only are they having these COVID lockdowns now, but you also have the tech. So the Hang Seng Tech Index is now down 70% from its all-time high. I mean, that's, I think, as bad as altcoins. China tech is going down as bad as altcoins. The big darlings, I mean, even my alt bags haven't done as badly as China tech stocks. I don't know how your alt bags have done, Freddie.
Tencent's doing more than 10% down.
Yeah, but Tencent has been obliterated.
Tencent is 5 cents.
Yeah, Tencent is going to change its company name to 3 cents if things carry on like this. So you've got the China tech index destroyed. Look at this. So in the past year, Baidu, I think is like the Google of China, down 58.76% in the last year. Yeah, Didi is down 90%, 87.55%. Didi is the Uber of China. That's down 87.5%. Alibaba, down 66.5% this year. Bro, my altcoins have performed better than Chinese stocks. Even like, let's take the worst of our altcoins, the worst. I don't know, take a ThorChain. Even ThorChain is not down 80. What about Tornado? I mean, you take all of the altcoins. They haven't done as badly as the Chinese stocks. I think this is Tencent. Yeah, look at Tencent. Tencent became 5 cents. It's 50% down. So, I mean, it should change its name to 5 cents. But I mean, the SEC... Much honor to Chinese stocks. But the SEC is not what... The SEC is protecting investors against Bitcoin. Like, they've just seen all these Chinese stocks. They've seen the NASDAQ stocks, but they won't approve a Bitcoin ETF. So I saw this tweet from Dunleavy.eth. He says, while you're waiting for the spot Bitcoin ETF, that's far too risky for the little brain to comprehend. Here are some of the other performances. And he looks at some of these ETFs and their performances, and you have ETFs done 93%, 91%, 90%, 88%. These are just some of the ETFs, but the SEC is protecting investors and not letting them have a Bitcoin spot ETF. They've given us a Bitcoin futures ETF, which, by the way, is 7% down between futures and spot. So the SEC is really doing a fantastic job protecting investors. We must commend them.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary Gensler. Thank you for the amazing job that you're doing protecting investors from all these ETFs. I mean, okay, here's some more ETFs and how they've performed. So Gary Gensler doing an amazing job protecting investors. Really, congratulations to Gary Gensler. All right, let's see what else. Yeah, China absolutely getting obliterated. Don't forget that in China, it's not only the tech sector. China's now got a whole lot of other things, and we've got to be quite cognizant of what's going on in China, because on the one hand, they got COVID. Their tech sector is absolutely collapsing. Then you've got another problem in China, which is the real estate bubble. So remember, no one's talking about Evergrande. But remember when Evergrande started to collapse, that exposed a whole lot of holes in the Chinese economy. And China's trying very hard to protect this. They're doing whatever they can to protect this. But ultimately, there are a lot of problems in China, and the COVID lockdowns in China aren't going to help. They're not going to help. So we're going to see big problems coming out of China. Now, on the one hand, that's going to reduce demand because they're going to go into lockdowns. But on the other hand, getting stuff that is manufactured in China is going to become a challenge. And the prices of things are going to go up. And if the prices of things go up, then that really limits what the Fed can do in terms of interest rate hikes. So the Fed may be looking at the interest rate hikes and going, look, we've now got these increasing commodity prices, which are coming out of Russia. And now you've got this big, they say trouble in China. You've got trouble in China. You've got trouble in China, which may stop goods coming out of China and may increase the price of goods coming out of China as they keep locking down more provinces. And at the same time, while all this is happening, what we are seeing is we're seeing Bitcoin holding onto this key 38,000 level. So this key, this regardless of what's happening, regardless of what we're throwing at Bitcoin, there is one level that Bitcoin is holding. It's not going very much below 37,500, and it's not really going up, but it's not going down. And we've got to understand what is it that is making Bitcoin hold these levels. And I've done some digging, and I think I may have found the answer for us. So the answer the answer starts off in this chart. And what it shows here is it shows that a record 775,000 Bitcoin have changed hands at around 38,700. So the most amount of Bitcoin have changed hands at around 38,700, which means that is the ultimate support level, because if a lot of people bought at this level over here, then this is the important level for Bitcoin to hold. And for as long as Bitcoin stays in or around this level, and it's very hard to get people to capitulate, because that is the biggest level where people have bought the most coins in the entire history of Bitcoin. So even though we're not seeing big volumes come out, if you look at this level, this is the most key level that we've ever had on chain for Bitcoin, because the most Bitcoin in the world ever of all time have been bought at 38,700. That is why Bitcoin can't break that 38,700 level. Every time it does go down, it gets bought up. Now, who's buying it? So what we're seeing is we're seeing that volume on Bitcoin, and specifically institutional volume, because this is from Coinbase, is down. It's low. It's down to December 2020 before bull market lows. So it's interest from institutions, or interest specifically on Coinbase, is not that big at the moment. They're not buying that much Bitcoin. But we are seeing that the network continues to grow. So even though institutions aren't buying, we are seeing that the network is continuing to grow. We have now a record number of addresses. We have 40 million addresses of Bitcoin that actually have a balance in them. So imagine that you've got 40 million addresses, all with Bitcoin balances in them. That's the highest that we've ever had on Bitcoin. So the adoption keeps growing. So you're in a position now where the value of the most Bitcoins are bought at 38,700. They're not being bought by institutions. We know that. We know that the people that are buying them are actually the small Bitcoin holders. So what you can see is that big institutions, balances of 1,000 Bitcoin going down, balances of 10,000 Bitcoin going down, balances of 100 Bitcoin going down, balances of 1 Bitcoin up. So you can see that what's happening is that these purchases are being made not by institutions, but by new entrants into the market. But then we're seeing another phenomena. We're seeing that long-term hodlers are adding balances at 7.6 times the magnitude which Bitcoin are being mined. So 900 Bitcoin are being mined every single day, but these guys are adding 6,840 Bitcoin into long-term holder storage daily. So what you're seeing is the most healthy Bitcoin on-chain metrics that we've ever seen. We're at massive on-chain price support, which is leading to technical price support. The people that are buying it are not these big whales and institutions which are going to dump on us. They are small buyers, but small buyers that traditionally don't sell Bitcoin, that actually become long-term hodlers. And as a result, you've got the most healthy metrics that I've ever seen. So you've now got 40 million addresses with money in it. So what you're seeing is that Bitcoin is being adopted more and more and more, specifically in this time. So as much as it's being tested with a war, with inflation, it's being adopted more and more and more as time goes on, which is crazy. Let's see what else we are throwing at Bitcoin. Well, tomorrow is Wednesday. You got Powell talking. You've got the FOMC meeting, and then Powell comes out and talks afterwards. Now, there is a 99.8% probability that Powell increases interest rates by 25 basis points. I'm not really expecting any surprise, but there could be a surprise. There's a very, very, very small chance that Powell increases interest rates by 0.5 basis points. I doubt he'll do it, but if he does, then the markets are going to respond badly. The markets have been pretty nervous ahead of this meeting. You saw nerves in the NASDAQ yesterday. Today, the market seems a little bit more, I would say, calm. So it's up again, 1.5% up ahead of tomorrow's meeting. And that's because I think they've discounted the fact that Powell's going to price in a 1.25% interest rate. And for the rest of the year, this is what it looks like. So it looks like we'll probably get 50 to 75 basis point rate hike, or maybe a 1% interest rate increase in the entire year. That's what the market's expecting. So what's important about tomorrow is not actually what Powell says about this interest rate, because this interest rate is garbage. What we need to look out for is the guidance that they give about what's going to happen going forward. And remember that Powell is now juggling this against China and lockdowns in China and things getting more expensive, and against what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. And if we look at what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, I don't really care about what's going on in the news, because I know that that's all garbage and posturing. I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at this index, which is the Goldman Sachs Commodity Index. And I think that if you get caught with what's going on in the news, you're getting caught in the posturing between the states. So if you look at news, then you're going to read stuff like this. Germany is warning that an immediate boycott of Russian gas and oil supplies could hurt its own population more than it hurts Russia, on the one hand. On the other hand, you've got Biden saying, we will make sure Ukraine has weapons to defend against invading Russia. We'll send them money with food, etc. The war is being fought on social media. You've got Nancy Pelosi. Guys, you got to listen to this. To me, she sounds like she's on an acid trip here. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to comment. I've commented enough. You make your own decisions. But what I can say is that for me, I'm not even looking at the news anymore. I'm just looking at the commodity price charts. I think that these commodity price charts, they will tell us when a ceasefire is coming and how close we are to a ceasefire. Everything else is posturing. And if you look at the commodity charts are saying that commodities are 5% cheaper than they were yesterday, still nowhere near December levels. Oil is back under $100. So I mean, I said that the top was at around 128. I called the top. Oil is now back under $100. So these are giving you signs that the end may be near. We may be getting some peace or some negotiations or something soon, or some kind of ceasefire. Alrighty, let's talk about altcoins, because I said it's not only Bitcoin that is doing very well. Bitcoin is doing very well. It's the healthiest that it's ever been. But if we look at altcoins, you can see that the Bitcoin dominance is pretty stable. 43.6%. It was at a high of around 44%. It's nowhere near where it was in October 21, 47%, or in May, June, July, which was 49%. It's pretty much doing well. And there are a couple of altcoins which are really keeping us floating. Altcoins like Luna, altcoins like Astroport, altcoins like Thorchain. What else? Avalanche. Avalanche is doing pretty well. There are altcoins which are not doing pretty well. What's Moonriver doing?
It's up 16%.
Moonriver doing pretty well. You see, let's look at my portfolio. Remember the portfolio that I've got on Coinstats. This is my portfolio on Coinstats. I've got Moonriver. What's the price of Moonriver? 45.69. Oh, it hasn't refreshed yet. That's why it hasn't refreshed yet. So our portfolio is doing pretty well. But one token that hasn't been doing pretty well is Fantom. So we had Fantom. We had the debacle with Andre Cronje, where Andre Cronje effectively left. And since that happened, let's go back 30 days on CoinGecko. You can see that the price of Fantom has been going down and down and down and down and down. So I thought what we'd do is get our friend Harry back on, because Harry is very much behind the Fantom ecosystem, and he can also give us a good perspective around what's going on, not only on Fantom, but on the market at large. Harry, welcome back, brother.
Hi, Ran. Thanks for having me on the show. Good to see you.
Are you still on the yacht?
I'm traveling right now, but I'm heading back to Abu Dhabi soon. Yes, just
amazing.
Enjoying a little bit of the Caribbean. How are you?
I'm very good. So Harry, I think let's address the big question that everyone wants to know about, and that is the Fantom. Since Andre resigned, or I don't know, left crypto, jumped crypto, Fantom price hasn't been doing so well. It's not only the Fantom price; it's the entire Fantom ecosystem. I guess the big fight is around Andre's involvement in Fantom and how important Andre was or is in Fantom. I know you're also very connected to the Fantom ecosystem. You hosted the Fantom Developer Conference earlier this year. Tell me about how important is Andre really in the Fantom ecosystem?
Sure. So I first off, I'd like to to just say that even with the statement that came out, I worked very, very closely with Michael and the foundation, along with our communications team, to put that statement out so that everybody can have some clarity. As I spoke with you about this, I think typically in most large organizations, there's a structured plan or succession plan when a major person in a corporation leaves. Of course, in DeFi, these structures don't really exist in decentralized finance. And Andre's importance in DeFi. Look, he's the godfather of DeFi. He created YFI. He helped Fantom early on. Specifically on the blockchain with the consensus side, but he hasn't really been that involved. He advises, and definitely he built some pretty innovative technology, such as Solidly Exchange. I mean, look, it went from 0 to 2 billion in TVL overnight. So almost everything Andre touches is gold. But by the same token, he's definitely been tired, I guess, a little bit. A lot of people want to kind of move on to other things. So he's been thinking about this for a while. So, and I think what happened was Anton had just put out a tweet, and the messaging was just incorrect. So sometimes some of these individuals, they don't have proper communication. So a lot of things got lost in translation. So we're here to really kind of reassure the community, everybody else, that Fantom's like stronger than ever. And, we're behind it. We're not going anywhere. And, we'll continue to build Tomb on top of Fantom. But yeah, Andre is definitely very important, but Fantom's ecosystem isn't just one person. The community's one of the strongest in the entire world. I mean, look, I'm part of the community, and I'm investing my own time and money. Look, even with the AlphaTauri, Fabio Quattro's, sponsorships is all my own personal money. It's not even from the foundation. So that's people that are really into Fantom are very, very passionate. So the community is the strongest out of any blockchain that I've seen. I mean, look, it's the most undervalued asset even still today. The TVL to market cap ratio is 0.4. It's the most undervalued token. It should be trading at close to $10, but unfortunately, just some transition of powers and FUD. But look at the entire market. The world's changed a lot in the last 2 weeks.
So let's quickly just listen. When you hosted the Fantom conference, this is how Andre introduced himself.
Hey, Andre Cronje, nice to meet you. I develop on and off sometimes when I feel like it. Mostly breaks. People really shouldn't use my stuff. Yeah, that's me.
So, I mean, was he developing at the Fantom Foundation? I know he built the team originally, and he was involved in the beginning. But was he actually developing at the Fantom Foundation?
So the first thing you need to know about Andre, even when you watch that clip, is Andre is probably one of the funniest, most charismatic people I met. He's got a very, very good sense of humor. So on stage, and I think a lot of times when you read even his tweets, things can be taken out of context. When you meet him in person and you see him, he's actually quite pleasant. But going back to what you're saying about, how involved he is with the foundation, he advises them, he speaks with them. Look, he's friends with everybody, and he's done a lot for the foundation and Fantom along the way.
Okay, and do you think he's gone? Like, do you think that Andre is gone for good? Because Andre has had rage quits before. Anton did say this is not a rage quit. This is a very calculated decision. Do you think, I know you've had a few discussions with him, do you think that Andre is ever coming back to crypto?
I mean, look, people take sabbaticals. Michael Jordan retired from basketball and came back. Sometimes people just really, really need a break. Even sometimes, I think, like for myself, I've been in crypto since 2013. One point I took, a 3 or 4 month sabbatical just to kind of really take a break. So, I mean, at this point, last time I spoke with him, he's really, really, taking time to spend with his family and just kind of work on other things, kind of enjoy his life a little bit. Obviously, the way that everything kind of happens, it wasn't really, really fair for him. I don't think that was the transition that he wanted. So the statement that the foundation and us helped craft really kind of shows that, look, he's wishing everybody like the best. And, I hope to see him back. I mean, he's definitely one of the brightest minds of our time in crypto. So,
Harry, I want to ask you a question around Andre. Most of the projects that Andre created, YFI, Solidly, the list goes on and on. Andre didn't take any tokens. Most of those projects didn't have any team tokens. even on Fantom, if I may be wrong, but if I remember correctly, Andre wasn't part of the original team. He wasn't part of the team before the ICO. Andre came in afterwards to pretty much clean up the mess from what the original guys did. Did Andre have financial incentive here? And I know that there are probably a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me when it comes to tracking Andre addresses or perceived Andre addresses. Does Andre have any financial incentive to come back here? Because my math says he didn't have any Solidly, he didn't have any Wi-Fi. He, pretty much if you follow the projects that he built, there were no team allocations. There were fair mine allocations. I'm kind of thinking from his point of view, he was taking a lot of slack. He was taking a lot of slack from a lot of people on Twitter, in the developer community. And then I think to myself, I think I may understand him. Because he has a guy that gives his heart and his soul. And then you get these entitled tourists who complain because they didn't make enough money. And then I go back and I look at, the project that Andre created and think, hold on a second, you didn't get any tokens in. Now, he may have purchased tokens. I don't know. I don't follow Andre Cronje addresses, but does Andre have any financial incentive to come back into crypto?
So first, I'd like to address that. Look, without the geniuses of guys like Andre, myself and you probably wouldn't even have the opportunities that we have today on top of Fantom. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I also empathize with him too. Before I was just running hedge funds. Now I run a DeFi project called Tomb. And running a DeFi project is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life, because it's this new innovative part of the internet and finance that hasn't really been, it's almost kind of like Bitcoin in the early days. People don't really understand the space, and it's kind of like the wild, wild west. But I think what you're going to start seeing in the next, coming months and years is the same way that centralized exchanges have kind of become traditional finance and like the norm. Now, I think in the next 12 to 24 months, you're going to see a lot more structured in the DeFi space. A lot more bigger players are going to come in just because it is a very, very innovative space. In terms of Andre's financial incentives to come back, I think, Andre is a true developer and a builder. So for him to really come back, look, who knows? I don't want to speculate on the future, but, once you kind of get into the space, it's pretty difficult not to want to come back.
Yeah, I agree. Harry,
but I think if he comes back, it's not going to be for financial incentives. I think if he comes back, it's definitely more for to help build something great.
He's not a financial.
We definitely wish him well. No.
Yeah, look, I wish he comes back, and if he doesn't come back, I just wish him happiness, because I had lunch with him, and I guess I felt his frustration. I'm not going to talk too much because I think the lunch was pretty much an off-the-record lunch, so I'm going to keep it all there. I want to talk to you about Tomb, T-Share, Based, B-Share, and did those projects take a knock at all because of what happened at Fantom, barring the fact that they do track the Fantom price to an extent? Has anything changed in terms of what you guys are building?
Look, we're definitely doing a lot more. We've got investments such as the Edge wallet. We're really kind of pushing, consumerized staking on a mobile wallet. So as I was talking about earlier, we definitely are starting to see a lot more people that are kind of behind projects in DeFi that are less anon. So for example, ourselves, we're fully doxed. Everybody knows who we are. And I think the problem with a lot of these DeFi projects, even like Tomb forks, et cetera, is everybody's anonymous for a number of reasons. You see a lot of rugs, but we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. And we're just continue to build on top of these platforms. Definitely the price took a hit, but the price is just a short term. We're thinking long term, and we're building long term for Tomb and other projects that we support.
I guess the one good thing, and I'm trying to quickly just go here so everybody else could see it, but I think the one positive thing that came out of this is that despite everything else, the Tomb has pretty much, it's kept within reasonable part of the peg. So I'm not going to say that it's held peg, because that's not true. But it's pretty much been within 10% of peg. Now remember, Tomb's not a stable coin. Tomb does fluctuate over and above the peg. And I did see that you guys added some more pairs. I think it was the cemetery or the masonry. There's the two my pair, right?
Yes. So this is actually one of the most exciting pairs that I've been working on. And, we work with a protocol called QDAO, which essentially allows you to do a collateralized stablecoin issuance. So MAI is actually US dollar pair. So to MAI, what this pair does is it relieves a lot of the selling pressure, because sometimes people want to sell TOOM. They end up selling TOOM for Fantom, and that affects the peg. So what we're really trying to educate people is, look, it's okay to take some profit, but take it in US dollar TOOM to MAI. And then same thing, don't sell your TOOM for T shares, sell your TOOM for MAI, then use the MAI to buy T shares. So we're creating more pairs. We're creating a T share MAI pair. And today's TOOM Tuesday, so we'll have some announcements. But again, this is just part of some of the innovation and infrastructure we're building. And this stuff takes time because there's only 257 million TOOM out there. So the supply is not, there's not that much TOOM floating around. So it's taken time for us to really, really kind of fine tune the economics and the token amounts. And, we've got other projects that we're supporting. This partnership with Based Finance, really, really exciting. So it's another TOOM fork that's pegged to TOOM. And yeah. And it's done extremely well. The team's incredible. Yesterday we just launched the Based MAI pair. So if you go to basedfinance.io, you'll see that you can actually trade on TOOM swap now and stake. Actually, yeah, you can bring that up for people. Basedfinance.io, they have the Based-MAI pair, and you can sell Based for MAI. This pair just went live about 24 hours ago.
I'll check it out because I'm not sure that it may ask me for a wallet, and I don't have a wallet connected on this. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Let's see if I can get a wallet connected. Okay, so here it is. So that's the Based Finance page, and you're saying I should go and check?
Yeah, go and check. There's if you go look on the Agora, click on the Agora. There you go, and then you're gonna see. Yeah, it'll ask you to unlock.
It's not going to unlock. It's not going to unlock on this machine. All right, but I know you guys are doing stuff with Based Finance. So that's another one of the things that's coming up. Yeah, Harry. Just before I let you go,
it's a great project. Yeah.
Before I let you go, Bitcoin holding at 38,700. Do you think we've seen the worst? Do you think there's more? Do you think there's more coming? More to be chucked at Bitcoin?
So it's funny. Yesterday, I was on Fox News, and they asked me the exact same question. They go, "How is Bitcoin doing?" And I'm like, "Look, it's when I got into Bitcoin, it was $60, and it was trading at $50,000 in January. Now it's trading at 38,000, which is 18% down from January." And the big difference is we're at the beginning of a super cycle. We have a watershed moment. This Ukraine-Russia thing. A lot of people don't realize that, even though banks are shut down, ATMs, Ukrainians are able to get money out using cryptocurrency, using TOOM, MAI, USDT, USDC, being able to transfer, in and out, getting 100 million plus in humanitarian aid. So this moment for crypto, this is why Bitcoin, stablecoins, everything, in my opinion, after the dust settles in the next couple of months, you're going to see a massive rally. That's why I still have the same targets. $300,000 to $400,000 by the end of the year.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, brother, man. It's been good to see you. I'm glad you finally.
Thanks for having me on the show, Ran.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, brother. We'll chat soon.
Great. Take care.
All right, guys. I know we are running out of time, but I do want to go through a couple of other things quickly, specifically on altcoins. So let's go through it pretty quickly, because I did promise you guys we're going to talk about a whole lot of altcoins. We've spoken about Fantom. We spoke about Astroport. There is an article on the Crypto Banter website. So go and look at the article on the Crypto Banter website, and that is around Astroport and why Astroport today is probably the most exciting DEX out there. I called Astroport when it was at 60 cents, and I don't only make good calls. In fact, I don't regularly make good calls, but I did say that Luna was going to hit 100 by the end of March. It hit 100 already, and I said that Astro was going to go to $3 by the end of March, and it is exactly because of what's written in this article. So do yourselves a favor and go and read about Astroport. You need to know as much about Astroport as you know about Uniswap, because I think Astroport is probably much more important than Uniswap. And for as long as Luna keeps flying, and now we've got $11 million worth of bets either way for Luna. For as long as Luna keeps flying, then you need to know about Astroport. Also, let's talk about XRP. and the SEC. So I know we're a little bit late in this one because we probably should have spoken about this yesterday, but we ran out of time. But this is a big win. This is a big win. Now, I'm not the biggest XRP fan in the whole world. We're not going to talk about that now, but we've got to talk about what the XRP are doing for the entire crypto community by effectively now, I think that they've probably beat the SEC. Because what the judge ruled here was the judge ruled that they could use what's known as a fair notice defense. What's a fair notice defense? They said, the judge ruled that Ripple, the SEC knew about the XRP ICO. They knew, not the ICO, but the token sale. They knew about it. And they didn't give them fair notice that it was wrong. And if they didn't give them fair notice, but they knew about it, then how are they complaining down the line? Now, why is that so important? Because the SEC didn't give Ripple fair notice. And if Ripple win this, then any company in the USA that did some kind of token sale of what the SEC deems as a security, where the SEC didn't give them fair notice, well, effectively, well, you didn't give us fair notice, there's precedent, and therefore this is huge. So whether you hate or love Ripple, you've got to give it to them. You've got to give it to them. The fight that they're fighting is a much bigger fight. I'm not going to read you this tweet thread, but I do think it's time to be looking at Avalanche again. I think the price is down, and I think it might be time to be looking at Avalanche. It was in our portfolio, so if you look at the Degenish Portfolio, not doing very well. It's only 7% up. But Avalanche was on this one, so it's minus 11%. Maybe a good time to be buying it. While I see this, Victoria VR, they are launching their new metaverse, or they're doing sneak previews at them of the new metaverse. They're doing it in Paris. So if you're in Paris and you're going to Virtuality on the 17th and 18th, go and check it out. I've seen the trailer. I can't show it on the show because it's they said it's confidential. But the graphics in this metaverse are insane. And one day Hustle will see the graphics in the metaverse. The Love Muscle will see the graphics in the metaverse. And when Hustle sees the graphics and how the Victoria VR metaverse works, his love muscle will basically contract and do amazing things. The love muscle will do amazing things when you see the graphics of Victoria VR.
Always delivering.
I'll text it to you, bro. I'll text it to you. You'll see.
Yeah, sounds good. No, and I think they should. I would assume that their product's going to look good with the Dell partnership, everything they have going on.
Alrighty, bro. Okay, guys. See you later, Hustle. You told us what's on the show. Okay, guys, I did promise you a giveaway. And so what is the giveaway that we're doing today? The giveaway is on the website. And the giveaway is for anybody who goes to the Crypto Banter website, just comment, let us know that you visited. It's a great experience. I mean, you go to the website, and what you'll see is that, first of all, we've got amazing sponsors now on the website. We've got Rubik. Rubik is the bridge between chains. I think we're investors in Rubik as well. So Rubik is one of our sponsors. We've got Unix Gaming. We've got Prime XBT. Amazing sponsors. Go and check out what the sponsors are doing now. Specifically now, go and check out what Rubik is doing. Because if you like what Rubik is doing, if you like what they're doing, they do have a token. And I think the token is pretty cheap. I've got to be honest. But go to the website. Leave a comment. Just let us know you were there. And it's so simple. To leave a comment, just sign in with Twitter. And then your username gets taken from Twitter and you become who you are on Twitter on our website. So you see it immediately knows who I am. And okay, so there's a couple of things you have to read. The first thing is there is this article today around those without a plan to fail. And I'm actually going to talk about this tomorrow on the show. This is about how you're going to succeed. And the way that you're going to succeed is just be less human. The less human you are, the less you that you are, the more you will succeed. And I think it's one of the most fascinating articles that's ever been written. It comes from a tweet thread. Got to read this Astroport article. Also, this is around a Solana-based game, and I think you need to read this press release around the Solana-based game. Just go onto the website, just log on, just tell us you were there, leave a like, leave a comment. We are giving away, I just want to make sure my numbers are right here, because if I mess up the numbers, I'm going to have a lot of people. Okay, so we're giving 9 NFTs to Fantom Starter. So what are these NFTs? So Fantom Starter is a launchpad. It's called Fantom Starter, but it's a launchpad on any chain, BSC, Polygon, Matic, Fantom, etc. And these NFTs basically give you access to the launchpad launches. Okay, so if you want the launchpad launches, you've got to have these NFTs. The NFTs are valued at $600. Today they're valued at $600. But remember that we're in a bad market. So we're in a bad market. The NFTs are valued at $600. come the good market, which could come around the corner, and then everybody's going to want the SEC, the NFTs. So I'm going to give away 9 of them on the website. Tomorrow on the show, we'll just select people. So go to the website, check out the articles. I say again, you don't have to check out every article. But you have to read this article. And because I read this article and the tweets behind it like 7 times. I actually want to talk to you about it today, but I'm not so good at time management apparently. So this is the article, this is the tweet, but you got to read this article, because just don't, if you want to make money, just don't be you. And then you got to read this article about Astroport, because that's a super article. And then there's obviously all the chart of the day. Sheldon's been dropping charts here like a mofo. Every day he just drops and drops charts. All right, listen. Love you guys madly. I know you want shorter shows, but I had a lot to tell you today. And Harry, I mean, we're not going to cut down Harry. We're never going to do that. We're never going to cut down Harry. Friday, we've got a big banter. Simon Dixon from Bank of the Future. Whatever. Simon Dixon's coming on. Got 2 other guests coming on as well. The following week, Scaramucci's coming on. Mark Yusko is coming on. You know, I reached out to Arthur Hayes. I asked Arthur Hayes to come on, and he said, can't come on because his lawyers won't let him until everything's blown over. So it's going to be big. Also, you may have noticed that our show time has changed. Our show time actually hasn't changed. It's just that the US has gone to daylight saving time. So now what you need to do is you should watch Scott Melker's show before us, because Scott Melker, we just basically juggle. So he's now at 9:30 to 10:15. I'm basically 10:15. I'm 10, but I always start late, 10:15 to now. So you should watch Scott Melker's show. If you're not subscribed to Scott Melker's YouTube channel, do it. I think he's one of the best YouTubers out there. See you guys again tomorrow. Until then, have fun, my friends. Okay, brace yourselves now.
Ran, you're doing long shows again, says Fred. Fred shouting about long shows.